G'day guys, it's me, Josh Lloyd, back again with another Red Rock season in review video. Getting towards the end now, only 3 more left after this one, but today this is the Los Angeles Clippers season in review video. Just recording this maybe 10 hours after the Lance Stephenson trade went down. I'm not going to talk about that in too much detail here, except to say that I don't think that Lance Stephenson becomes a standard league valuable player next season in his new environment. Let's talk about the players who do matter, and that's Chris Paul, starting off with him as the point guard. He was amazing yet again. He played all 82 games for the first time in a very, very long time. 5th overall in head-to-head per game value, which was fantastic for him. I think you even see him slide outside the top 5 again next season, and that means if you're picking in that 6 to 7 range, you might be able to get your hands on Chris Paul, and that will end up being a terrific bargain because there's almost no doubt he'll jump at least 1 or 2 of the players ahead of him. He averaged over 10 assists a game, almost 20 points. He gives you over 1.5 threes, 2 steals, fantastic percentages, 90% from the free throw line, almost 50% from the field. He's just an ultimate competitor. He's a great fantasy player. He's a great NBA player and a guy who's consistently underrated for fantasy basketball. And yeah, if you're picking in that middle to end of first round, you might be able to get him there and it's going to end up working out pretty well for you. JJ Redick alongside him had a really underrated second half of the season, finished inside the top 40 post All-Star break for his fantasy value. He's another guy who shoots over 90% from the free throw line, but for a guy who was giving you almost 3 triples a game down the stretch, to hit it at just under 50% from the field is fantastic. Not only does it not hurt your field goal percentage, but he actually helps it. He gives you a big chunk of scoring. Not a lot in the other categories, not much in the steals division, not many rebounds, not many assists, but his ability to really give you big points, big threes, great percentages is fantastic for Redick. Now, I'm not advocating to pick him inside the top 40, but around that 70 to 80 mark, JJ Redick should be another big part of the Clippers offense moving forward next season. Blake Griffin, a guy who disappointed me in the regular season. He had drops in pretty much every one of his categories. Career low rebound numbers, a drop in his scoring, career low field goal percentage. One thing he did improve is he's got his free throw percentage up at around 72%, so he's no longer a punt free throw only guy. He can be rostered in any sort of format. His assists were fantastic, career high 5.3 assists. Doesn't block any shots, which is disappointing, doesn't get many steals. But what we saw from him in the playoffs was incredible. His numbers were out of control, over 6 assists a game, 25 and 12 in 40 minutes a night. So we've got to remember that. It's going to drop back a bit. He's not going to be that sort of player throughout next regular season. He ranked 26th in overall per game head-to-head value. I think that a lot of people are going to want to take him at around 10 or 11 around the first, second round turn. That feels a bit early to me. Anywhere after pick 15, I'm relatively happy with it, but I just don't think he's going to get 40 minutes a night and put up those playoff numbers. So I think you'll end up being a bit disappointed if you grab him that early. John Ray Jordan is a free agent. And this is all assuming he comes back to the Clippers because it suits him perfectly there. He suits what they do as well. And I think it's a match made in heaven. They need to pay him big money, and they should pay him big money, and it's going to work out well for both teams if they do. From a fantasy point of view, he's a top 10 head-to-head guy. He actually finished 5th overall in head-to-head total value, 9th in per game value, and that's because he gives you so many rebounds. 15 rebounds a game, over 2 blocks a game, and an insane 71% field goal percentage. They're big numbers, that so much so that those numbers allow you not to concentrate on that category for the next 3 or 4 picks. His free throw percentage, less than 40% though, is horrible. It means he's pretty much unownable in roto leagues. Sure, there's some of you out there who have owned him in roto leagues and won, but it's very, very hard to do, and I would advise against it very strongly. So that means I'm not picking him in roto leagues at all. I don't think that you should be picking him inside the top 10, even though he finished inside the top 10, but at the back end of the second round, in the third round, is probably the right spot to grab him, and then he's going to return you top 10 value anyway, so that's the right thing to do. It's not about, yeah, he's going to rank as the 9th player, I'm picking him 9. It's like, he's going to rank as the 9th player, everyone else is going to pick him at 30, I'm picking him at 20, so I end up taking him above everyone else, making sure I get my hands on him, and still getting a round's extra value. And that's the same with all those punt free throw, all big punt percentage guys. But he's probably the leading example of that at the moment. Dynasty sleeper targets. It's pretty barren. If I'm going to talk 2 or 3 years down the track, CJ Wilcox is a guy who is interesting. Maybe if Jamal Crawford really drops off, he could find himself a role as a shooting guard off the bench. If JJ Redick has lost his form, maybe CJ Wilcox jumps up. He was a first round draft pick last season and barely saw the court at all. But otherwise, there's just nothing to like here. Austin Rivers is never going to become a great fantasy player. We saw he could do some things in the playoffs when Paul was injured, but with the acquisition of Stevenson, his ability to handle the ball will be reduced as well. I said earlier, I don't think Stevenson's going to become a guy who jumps into consideration as a standard league guy. I don't think he's really ever going to amount to a fantastic fantasy player, so I don't think he has much dynasty value. It's pretty barren. There's not much happening on the bench. There's no one who I think is looking to have a big jump next season. The guy that I look at is Wilcox, but that's 2 to 3 years down the track, and it's a very big punt. And I don't think that you necessarily. It's probably a 10 to 15% chance of that working out, if that. Make sure you are following along on the social media accounts, which you'll find the links to below and on the coming screen, and subscribe to this as well. You know where the subscribe button is, down below, down here somewhere. Also, you'll see it coming up on the next page as well. It'll be there. You can subscribe there. I really appreciate that. And if you want to hear me talking more about the Los Angeles Clippers in podcast form, the link to the iTunes page for the show is down below as well. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. See ya.